ahead,
have
Ustad.
50% of the people said that they're going to fast every day, mashallah, which is amazing,
Very good.
mashallah. And then we have around 14 people, that's about a third, said that they're going to fast some of the days. And 3 people said that they're going to fast on the weekends. And 3 people may be a little bit too young to fast at the moment. So most
Okay.
people, mashallah, are going to be fasting, Ustad, which is amazing. All of Ramadan, which is fantastic, inshallah.
MashaAllah. MashaAllah.
Cool. Thank you for filling that in. That gives us an idea of where you're at. Jazakallah khair. So we're gonna hand over to Ustad Sahal for today's session, inshallah. Just a reminder, those of you parents who've just joined, then we are broadcasting live on YouTube and recording this. So hopefully you're okay with your children being on camera. And we do encourage children to come on camera because it does make their concentration better and our participation with them much more easier, inshallah. And we'll give you an opportunity at the end to ask any questions that you have. So if you think of any questions, young people, please just keep them in your mind. And then inshallah, we're going to have you have an opportunity to answer any questions that you have at the end, inshallah, as well as we've got a quiz. So pay attention. So Ustad Sahal, over to you, inshallah.
Okay, Bismillah, Alhamdulillah, Assalatu Wassalam, ala Rasulillah. Nabiyina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. It's great to see you all again, especially on the eve of Ramadan. Ramadan will soon be starting in just a few weeks' time, and we're in the month of Sha'ban. And to prepare properly for Ramadan, you have to have an idea of the importance of Sha'ban. The Prophet ﷺ said Sha'ban is a month that people often neglect. They don't realize how important it is. And in fact, the Prophet ﷺ used to fast not just Ramadan, but he used to fast most of Sha'ban to get ready for Ramadan. So if you're a person who finds fasting really difficult, and this might sound like strange advice to you, but if you're a person who finds Ramadan really difficult, you may want to keep at least one optional fast in Sha'ban just to get your body used to fasting. This is what the Prophet ﷺ used to do. He used to actually fast pretty much the whole of Sha'ban. So maybe get together with your family and have a plan that you're going to do one optional fast in Sha'ban just to get used to the feeling of it and just to get back into that vibe of Ramadan. So Ramadan is a very, very precious time. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala values Ramadan a lot. In Hadith Qudsi, which is a hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, where the Prophet ﷺ is mentioning the words of Allah, the Prophet ﷺ said, "As-siyamu li wa ana ajzi bih. As-siyamu li wa ana ajzi bih." Fasting is for me and I will reward it. Now let me ask you guys, why do you think Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told us that fasting is for him and he will reward it? Isn't it that all good deeds are for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Isn't salah for Allah? Isn't Qur'an for Allah? Isn't giving sadaqah for Allah? What's so special about fasting that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, "As-siyamu li wa ana ajzi bih." Fasting is for me and I will reward it. So we have a hand up from Nusayba. Can we hear from Nusayba?
Let me, yeah, Nusayba, accept the prompt on mute.
Yeah, so basically all good deeds they're usually like up to 10 rewards, but isn't it that when you're fasting you get like double rewards because you're like in that state of worship?
Very good, mashallah. Fasting, all good deeds, they are multiplied the reward from 10 up to 700 times. Fasting is more than 700, it's unlimited. That's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, "As-siyamu li wa ana ajzi bih." Fasting is for me and I will reward it. So it's not just double, it's more than 700 times the reward. But my question is, why do you think Allah said this about fasting and no other good deed? Okay, can we hear from Uwais?
Yeah, Uwais, accept the prompt.
I think Allah said that because only you and Allah know that you're fasting, and nobody else knows except if you tell them or they see you in the morning, pray subh and tell them that you're fasting.
Okay, excellent answer. And this is the exact answer that was given by some of our great scholars like Imam An-Nawawi and others, that fasting is a very personal act of worship between you and Allah. Nobody really knows if you're fasting. If you're praying, people can see you pray. If you're reading Qur'an, people can hear you read Qur'an. If you're giving charity, normally people are very grateful and they see you giving charity. But when it comes to fasting, it's totally secret. It's between you and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Nobody really knows, even if you said to people, yeah, I'm fasting today, mashallah, I'm fasting, yep, I'm fasting. And then if you secretly, astaghfirullah, went to your room and had a chocolate bar, or in Ustad Akhtar's case, had a nice cup of tea, then nobody would know. So fasting is a very personal act of worship between you and Allah. And that's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves it so much. So much so that the people who fast, they have their own gate in paradise. Who knows how many gates there are in paradise? Use the chat facility if you think you know. How many gates are there to paradise? There are majestic gates, huge gates. They are so enormous and so beautifully decorated. But there are a certain number of gates to paradise. Okay, we've got quite a few hands up, but let's give a chance to the people who don't prefer not to. Okay, some people said 7, but the correct answer is Yahya and Sidra and others. There are 8 gates to Jannah, 8. And there is 1 gate dedicated for the people who fast. And this gate is called Babur Rayyan. Babur Rayyan. So fasting is a very precious and a very special act of worship. Allah loves it. It's personal between you and Allah. There is a special gate in Jannah just exclusively for the people who fast. And this is the only gate which has its own special name, Babur Rayyan. Okay, we'll start after. Have we got the PowerPoint as well? It should be in your email.
Yeah, I have that. So I'll share that now.
Now, today we're going to study what the purpose of fasting is, and we're going to study how the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ used to fast, because we don't just want to fast Ramadan. We want to fast Ramadan like the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ used to fast Ramadan. But before we start that, a very, very important question is, what is the purpose of fasting? What are you trying to achieve by fasting? If I say to you guys, look, we're going to train for 30 days swimming. Okay, every day we're going to go swimming. We're going to spend 1 hour swimming. Then there's going to be a swimming coach. They're going to show you some techniques. And we're going to look at your diet to make sure you're a very, very good swimmer. Everyone would say the purpose of this 30-day training program is to become a better swimmer. But what is the purpose of fasting? It's not a trick question. The answer can actually be found in the Quran in Surah Al-Baqarah. Okay, let's see. So we've got Nusayba's hands up. Nusayba's always very enthusiastic. I love that quality for a young person to be enthusiastic. We've also got, who else's hands are up? There was somebody else. Was
Ridwan's hand up.
Okay, can we hear from Ridwan today then? What is the purpose of fasting?
The purpose of fasting is to become a better Muslim.
To become a better Muslim, that is an excellent answer.
It's to understand how the poor people are going through.
What
because
the poor people are going through?
It's like we try to remember that the poor people don't have food.
But you know what? The poor people normally don't open their fast with such a beautiful iftar like you do and all of us do, and have a lovely table spread of food. So although we feel a little bit about what the poor people are feeling, we don't really feel what they're feeling. But your first answer about becoming a better Muslim, that's kind of on the right track. So can we have another answer from someone, Ustad Akhtar? Can you choose someone who's...
Yeah, let's hear from Sophia and Zaid. Sophia and Zaid, accept the prompt.
To gain taqwa.
To gain taqwa. Excellent. To gain taqwa. This is the ayah in the Quran, and we're going to study the verses of the Quran which speak about fasting in quite a lot of detail tomorrow, inshallah. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, Ya ayyuha alladhina amanu kutiba alaykum as-siyam kama kutiba ala alladhina min qablikum la'allakum tattaqun. O you who believe, fasting has been ordered for you like it was ordered for those before you, so you may gain taqwa. So you may gain God consciousness. Now, taqwa is an Arabic word which means a shield. Okay, so in this context, you're not only fasting to gain taqwa, you're actually shielding yourself from the punishment and the anger of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala by doing something He loves so much. The word taqwa actually comes from the word wiqaya, which means a shield. You're shielding yourself from the hellfire, from the punishment of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and from the anger of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay, let's move on. Ramadan of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Okay, starting off with a question. How many Ramadans did the Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam fast? Use the chat facility if you remember. How many Ramadans did the Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam fast? These are quite technical questions. 64 Ramadans. Wajiha, 64 Ramadans. The Prophet ﷺ died at 63 years old. How could he fast 64 Ramadans? Hiba says 2. Okay, good try. Hannah says 30. Zaid says 50. I just saw the correct answer come out. Wow, I only seen one person get this answer right. The only person I've seen so far, and I'm gonna, oh, there's another one. Yes. 2 people have got it right. So the 2 people who have got it right are Muhammad Ayyub and Halima. The Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam fasted for 9 Ramadans. And I saw, Muhammad Ayyub, 9 Ramadans the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam fasted for. 9. Now that's quite amazing, because when you think about another pillar like Hajj, the Prophet ﷺ only made Hajj once in his life. But Ramadan, the Prophet ﷺ fasted 9 separate Ramadans. So we have a lot of rich guidance to understand how the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ used to fast in Ramadan. Now there were 3 stages to fasting which the Prophet ﷺ went through. Now I'm going to mention them very briefly so you can appreciate that the fasting which we do is not just any ordinary fast, but it's a special version of fasting, version 3.0, which is the best version of fasting. So the original version of fasting was that the Muslims would fast just on one day in the year. Does anybody know which year what day that was? You'll be surprised. Does anybody remember? I have mentioned it once before in another course. Does anybody know? You can either put your hand up or use the chat facility. Okay, so Nusayba is always straight off the mark. Yes, so can we hear from Nusayba?
Was it on Muharram? Was it on Muharram?
Very good. Excellent. It was the 10th of Muharram. The 10th of Muharram, Yawmul Ashura. This used to be the only obligatory fast which Muslims had to fast. And it actually used to be a fast which even non-Muslims used to fast. On that day, they used to put the kiswa, the cloth, on the Kaaba. Then the order came to fast in Ramadan. And this fasting in Ramadan, it was kind of optional. So you could either fast or you could feed a poor person for that day. Okay, then the third version of fasting which came, so it's actually went through 4 revisions, not 3. The third version of fasting was that you have to fast in Ramadan, but after Maghrib, if you fall asleep, then when you wake up, your fasting starts. So basically, if you go home, go for Maghrib, and maybe you're sitting down, and Maghrib Salah has happened, and you fall asleep, then khalas, you can't eat anything, you can't drink anything, the fasting has started. So it's actually quite a tough form of fasting where there was no suhoor, no waking up for the pre-dawn meal. And then the final version, 4.0, is the fasting which we fast today and which the Prophet ﷺ fasted towards the end of his life. So can we move on to the next slide? So the Prophet ﷺ would fast from the beginning of Fajr, the beginning of Fajr until Maghrib, and the pre-dawn meal, which is the suhoor meal, was allowed, and that was the final version of fasting, the best version of fasting. Now, just to give you an idea how difficult fasting actually used to be, there is a clue in the Quran with Maryam alayhi salam about how the olden peoples, how the people of the book, the Jews and the Christians, what some of their versions of fasting was. Now, Maryam is described in the Quran as fasting, but she's not just not eating and drinking, she's doing something else. Does anybody remember what she was doing? You can use the chat facility, or you can just put your hand up. So the old fasts of the Jews and Christians, yeah, Fatima put her hand up. It didn't just involve not eating and drinking, it involved something else. So Fatima, can you...
Wasn't talking.
No talking, excellent. Fatima's very young and she's getting all these answers. MashaAllah. MashaAllah. So Muhammad Ayyub also had that as well. That the earliest versions of fasting, there was even no talking. Can you imagine some of you having to do that? I don't think it would be possible. Everyone will be breaking their fast left, right, and center. So the fast that we have, no eating, no drinking from the beginning of Fajr till Maghrib, it is the most perfect version of fasting, the best version of fasting, the one that is not too hard and not too easy. Now today, Christians especially, they have a version of fasting which is called Lent. Okay, this will happen at Easter time. And in that version of fasting, they choose to give up one thing. So it could be coffee, it could be meat. For some of them, it can be alcohol. For some of them, it could be meat as well. But the version which we fast is the perfect balance. It's something difficult enough to be a challenge and for you to feel a sense of achievement, but it's also something which is achievable. And we saw right at the beginning of the survey that more than 50% of the children will be fasting this Ramadan, MashaAllah. So it's very important that you develop this habit of fasting before it becomes obligatory. Okay, before it becomes obligatory. So even though you're children, even though you're young, and even though you may have learned that it's not obligatory for you to fast, it's important that you start somewhere. It could be fasting on weekends. It could be fasting on the holidays. So the last 2 weeks of Ramadan, right up until Eid and past Eid, will be in the Easter holidays. That's a wonderful opportunity for you to start fasting if you haven't fasted before. So it's very, very important for you to start fasting before it becomes obligatory, before you become baligh, before you become responsible for your actions. So the Prophet ﷺ himself used to fast, just fasted for 9 Ramadans, and that's pretty incredible when you think about the fact that Hajj, he ﷺ only made Hajj once in his lifetime. But for Ramadan, he fasted for 9 years. Okay, now bearing in mind the Prophet ﷺ passed away in the 10th year after Hijrah, in which year would he have started fasting then? We're going to need some maths experts here. So the Prophet ﷺ he passed away in the 10th of Ramadan, in the 10th year after Hijri. So in which year did the Prophet ﷺ start fasting? Okay, we've got a couple of hands up. Ustad Akhtar, could you choose someone?
Sorry, there was on mute. Let's hear from Fatima.
Second year.
Fatima, are you sure you're not getting any help from someone? We need to speak to Fatima. She's getting all the answers right. Fatima, tell the truth. Is someone helping you?
Yeah.
Oh, look at Fatima. She's so honest. MashaAllah. But it's amazing how confident you are, Fatima. Who's helping you, Fatima?
She's gone. I think she's gone. No, there she's back.
Mama.
Come on. Huh?
Her mum's helping her, I think she said.
Her mom's helping her. That's amazing. But Fatima says the answer so confidently, and I saw Muhammad Ayyub had the answer right as well, and a lot of you had the answer right. So the Prophet ﷺ started fasting in the 2nd year after Hijri. In fact, It's a very, very famous story that the Prophet ﷺ was on the way to a very famous battle. Okay. And they were actually fasting. The Muslims were fasting. Does anybody know which battle this was? Does anybody want to use the chat facility and tell us which battle took place in the 2nd year after Hijri, and it actually took place in Ramadan? Let's have a look. Battle of Badr. Excellent. Battle of Badr. The Muslims were fasting, and they carried on fasting until they reached the battlefield. And this is something very important. Even if you have an excuse to break your fast, guys, if we avoid using the chat facility for silly things, because what happens then? It blocks the screen for everyone. Yeah. Jazakallah khair. So Badr, yes, Badr is correct. Even if you got an excuse not to fast, like for example, you're on a journey, yeah, you have to carry on fasting until you reach the outside of your town, and then you can break the fast. So the Muslim army, even though they were facing a huge army, even though they were very stressed, they were very worried, they were very terrified, they still had to fast Ramadan. And right until they got to the battlefield, that's when the Prophet ﷺ gave them permission to break their fast, and they had to share their dates. They didn't even have enough to open their fast properly. They had like one date, and some of them had to split their dates into two and share the dates half each. And there's a very famous story about companions who couldn't even wait to get involved in the battle, and they actually threw their dates because they wanted to rush into fighting. So Ramadan started in the 2nd year after Hijri, and it lasted for 9 years, and the Prophet ﷺ completed 9 years of fasting. Now, we mentioned that Ramadan is the purpose of fasting is to gain taqwa, and taqwa is God consciousness, is being very aware about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and it's like a shield to protect you from the anger and the punishment of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And I want to talk to you about this in more detail. It's very important you understand what's the purpose of you fasting, because it's going to motivate you more, and you're going to be able to understand, have you got the most out of fasting or not? So now, when you're training yourself every day to give up food and drink, something that you really need, something that your body, demands of you, you feel hungry, you feel like, oh, I need something to eat and need something to drink. If you're training yourself every single day to control food and drink, then you should be a lot better now controlling yourself from the things that you don't need. So when you're fasting, you're not just supposed to control your food and drink. What other kind of things are you supposed to control? So let's hear from some people. What other things are you supposed to control when you're fasting? Yes, Muhammad Ayub says your tongue. Yes, manners. Excellent, Sophia. You're supposed to control your manners in that you should not be losing your temper. You shouldn't be getting into arguments. The Prophet ﷺ said, if somebody comes to fight with you when you're fasting, you should say, Inni sa'im. I am fasting. I'm not allowed to fight. Okay, let's hear some people.
Amana has her hand up. Let's hear from Amana.
Okay.
Go ahead, Amana, accept the prompt. Okay. We'll come back to you then, Amana. Let's hear from Hiba. Go ahead,
Hiba.
Anger.
Anger, very good. Fasting controls your anger, because one of the things that helps people become angry and worked up is when they got a lot of energy, they've got a lot of sugar in their blood, they're hyperactive. So what fasting does, it calms you down, it takes away some of that energy and makes you a bit more calmer, or it's supposed to. Yeah. Now, unfortunately, some Muslims, they get so upset because of their hunger. What's it called when you're hungry and angry? It's got a special word, isn't it? What's it called?
Hangry.
Hangry, yes, hangry. That's like a new word, yeah? I think that word's been invented for Muslims. It's when you get hangry, it's when you're hungry and that makes you angry. That's not the way we're supposed to be, yeah? Our manners are supposed to improve. The companions of the Prophet ﷺ, they noticed that even though the Prophet ﷺ was the best human being with the best manners, in Ramadan, his manners used to improve a lot. Yeah, he would become The translation of the Arabic is more generous, but it doesn't mean just generous in terms of money. It means his character improves. Okay. Now, this is a really deep and important question. Okay. So I want you all to think very carefully. Why do you think the Prophet ﷺ improved so much in his character in those 9 years of that he was fasting in Ramadan? What was it that helped the Prophet ﷺ improve his character? What was happening to the Prophet ﷺ every night of Ramadan?
Let's hear from Khadija. Go ahead, Khadija.
When was the word hungry made?
The word hungry was made. I'm just joking. I'm just joking. I said it was made because of Muslims to get it so hangry. I think it was made a few years ago. I'm not sure. I don't remember that word existing when I was young. Ustad Akhtar, when was it made? Do you remember?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure. Not sure. But
Okay.
let's see if Sweeba knows the answer to your question. Your question was, what had the Prophet ﷺ improve in his manners and be even more generous and kind and good-mannered with people? What was happening during Ramadan? Sweeba, accept the prompt to unmute. Let's hear what your answer is. Sweeba, just have a look. Okay. We'll come back to you then. Let's go to Ridwan. Ridwan, accept the prompt to unmute.
Assalamu alaikum.
Islam.
Was it because that Allah revealed the Quran to him every single night of Ramadan?
Wow, you're so close. You are so close, mashallah. So, Ustad Akhtar, who was that again?
That was Ridwan.
Ridwan says, because Allah was revealing the Quran every night to the Prophet ﷺ in Ramadan. That's why his character and his manners were, so much even greater, even though he was great already in Ramadan. Now, Ridwan is so close. It wasn't quite that Allah was revealing new verses every night in Ramadan. It wasn't quite like that. Could somebody improve on Ridwan's answer? But he's so close.
Let's hear from Nusayba. Nusayba, go ahead.
Was it on the odd nights?
In the odd nights? No, not necessarily.
Oh, the last 10 nights?
No, not necessarily last 10 nights. Go back to what Ridwan was saying. Something was happening to the Prophet ﷺ every night in Ramadan. What was happening to the Prophet ﷺ?
Let's hear from Zoya. Zoya, accept the prompt to unmute, please.
He learned patience.
He learned patience. Okay. Who was he learning patience from?
He developed patience.
He developed. Oh, you were closer in your original answer. Okay, let's go to Hannah. She's got a hand up, and she looks like she really wants to give us an answer. Okay, Hannah. What was happening to the Prophet ﷺ every night, Hannah?
Hold on, let me give you a prompt to unmute, Hannah. 1 second. Stay there. Oh, you've gone from my screen. Where have you gone? Oh, there you are. Go ahead, Hannah. Accept that prompt to unmute.
Did Allah teach him how to do something?
Yeah, how did Allah teach him? Who does Allah send to teach the Prophet ﷺ?
Angel Jibreel.
Angel Jibreel, yes, that's what was happening to the Prophet ﷺ every night. Every night, Jibreel was coming and visiting the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, and they were revising the Quran together. Every night, they would sit down in the evening and they would revise the Quran together. And they would revise the whole Quran in the month of Ramadan. But in the very last Ramadan of the Prophet ﷺ's life, the Jibreel revised the Quran twice. And that is how the Prophet ﷺ knew his life was coming to an end, because now it was becoming more intense and they were revising the Quran twice. So every night, the Prophet ﷺ would spend time with Jibreel. That's how he was now becoming even greater in his behavior, in his conduct, in his manners, in his generosity, because he's reading the Quran and he's reading the Quran with Jibreel alayhi salam. This teaches us something very important, very, very important, that if you want to improve yourself And especially this Ramadan, if you want to become a better Muslim, and if you want to follow the example of the Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, you need to look very carefully who you hang around with, who your company is, okay? If you want to improve and be a better Muslim, you're going to have to find other Muslims who have more knowledge, who are better Muslims, who you can hang around with, and they can rub off on you. Yeah, that's what happens when you hang around with people, you spend more time with them, their qualities rub off on you. Now, if you've got bad friends, people who are very far away from the religion, they don't really take religion too seriously, they've got some really bad habits, they've got some really bad language, then that will rub off on you, I'm afraid. That's the way it is. But if you got someone who's a very good friend, they're very, they take religion very seriously, they fast every day in Ramadan, they're very motivated, they're learning the Quran, they're doing hifz of Quran, then that's going to rub off on you as well. So the Prophet ﷺ, despite being the best human being, even he ﷺ raised his level by spending every evening with Jibreel alayhi salam. And the companions of the Prophet ﷺ actually noticed that, and they mentioned that. Okay, inshallah. Ustad, after tomorrow, we are going to actually look at the verses of the Quran which speak about fasting. And we're going to look at some more of the actions of the Prophet ﷺ in the blessed month of Ramadan. But I think it's now time for our favorite part. Are you ready, Ustad Akhtar?
We are. Excellent. Great session there, mashallah. Got us ready. Don't forget, everybody, tomorrow, 6 p.m., inshallah, for the second part, the final part of our session on Ramadan and how you can prepare for Ramadan. But now we've got our quiz time. So let me see if you guys are ready. Let me see your fingers ready to press those buttons. Not really. Only Hannah's really got some energy. The rest of you are gone to sleep, I think. Hold on. Oh, no. There they are. There they are. They're all waking up now. Excellent. All right, good. So get ready for these questions. And we're going to ask you some questions around maybe what you've heard today. Maybe they're totally nothing to do with what you've heard today. Who knows? And let's see what you guys come back with as the answers, inshallah. And those of you on YouTube, then you can join in. You can type up the answer, just A, B, C, or D in the chat facility there on YouTube, inshallah. Okay, so first question for you all. Which pillar of Islam is Siyam? Is it the first pillar of Islam, the second pillar of Islam, the third pillar of Islam, the fourth pillar of Islam, or the fifth pillar of Islam? There are 5 pillars of Islam. Which one does Siyam fasting come? Is it the first? Is it the second, the third, the fourth, or the fifth? We've already split the audience, Ustad. We split them up. We're a little bit unsure, a few of them. They're taking a little bit longer to answer today. So let's see. First, second, third, or fourth. I'll give you 5 more seconds. A few of you haven't answered. Those of you on YouTube, you can type in A, B, C, or D in the chat. Let's see what answer you come up with. Okay, and we're going to end the poll now. 4, 3, 2, 1. And we'll start. We've got almost like a 50-50 split. So
right.
Let's have a look. And here we go. We've got 42%, 23 people said it's the third pillar of Islam, and 25 people said it is the fourth pillar of Islam.
Yeah. So usually it's referred to as the fourth pillar of Islam, usually, because the first pillar of Islam is the Shahada, La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah. And the second and third normally go together, which is Salah and Zakah, because in the Quran, they're normally together. Then people often refer to Siyam, fasting, as the fourth pillar of Islam. Although the order can kind of swap between the fourth and the fifth, normally people put it as the fourth pillar of Islam. Well done. 45% of you got it right.
Excellent. Well done, everybody. Let's have a look at question number 2 for today. Question number 2 is, what is the meal after sunset called? Is it suhoor? Is it breakfast? Is it isha? Or is it iftar? Is it suhoor? So the meal that we have at Maghrib, after Maghrib, when we open our fast, is it suhoor? Is it breakfast? Is it isha? Or is it iftar? I think everybody knows this one, or most people will know this one. Give you another 3 seconds. 3, 2, 1. And let's have a look. And mashallah, most of you got it right there.
Excellent. MashaAllah. The correct answer is iftar. Also in the Asian subcontinent, they sometimes call it iftari. Yeah. But the correct answer is iftar. That is what we open our fast with. Yep, mashallah, very good, excellent. 85%, I think got it right. 84%, yeah.
Mashallah, very good. And look, we want to remind everybody, please, please don't waste food. That's your responsibility during Ramadan. Make sure you don't waste food. You eat a little bit healthy, but no wasting food, because you know, as we've seen, a lot of people, we've heard from Ridwan and a few other people, a lot of people, poor people around the world, and then we get to eat very well. Okay, let's go to question number 3. So question number 3 is, Ramadan begins during which month of the Islamic lunar calendar? This is a bit of a tricky one. Is it the 9th month of the calendar? Is it the 10th month of the calendar? Is it the 5th month of the calendar or the 6th month of the calendar? Start thinking about your Islamic months. Start thinking Rabi al-Awwal, Rabi al-Thani. Remember that nasheed you used to hear at school many, many years ago? Start thinking about it. Is it A, the 9th month of the year? Is it the 10th month? Is it the 5th month, or is it the 6th month? And we've had more than 60% of you answer. So we give you another few seconds before we want everybody to put their answer through, inshallah. Okay, and we're going to close it here. Last few seconds. Still people putting their thing through. Okay, here we go. Let's share the
MashaAllah. MashaAllah, excellent. These are tough questions. 70% got it right. It's the 9th month of the lunar calendar. Okay, it's the 9th month of the Islamic lunar calendar. Excellent.
Well done, everybody. Excellent. Doing good here. Let's see how you do on question number 4. Laylatul Qadr is considered the most blessed night during Ramadan. Do you know what it means? Does it mean the night of worship? Or B, the night of the Qur'an? Or C, the night of prayer? Or D, the night of power or decree? So the night Laylatul Qadr, what does it mean? The night of power, the night of the Qur'an, C, the night of prayer, or D, the night of power stroke decree. We'll give you another 5 seconds, everybody. You've got to make your choice now. Have a look, A, B, C, or D. We're going to end the poll now. Last few, put your answers through it. Okay, and let's have a look at what they said.
Okay, mashallah. Again, a tough question. What does it mean? It means the night of power or decree. 72% of you got it right. Laylatul Qadr means the night of power or decrees. Because in Laylatul Qadr, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sends down the angels with the decrees, the destinies for the coming year only. Yeah, for the coming year only. And on that night, the whole universe is completely full of angels coming down to earth with the decrees of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. MashaAllah, well done to you.
Excellent, very good. Okay, last question for today. Have a look at this one and let's see what you say. Why do we fast? Do we fast to lose weight, to gain taqwa, to be and have sympathy with the people who are poor around the world, or personal satisfaction, personal enjoyment? Why do we fast? Do we fast to lose weight, to gain taqwa, to have sympathy with the world's poor, or D, personal satisfaction, just to do it because we want to do it and have some fun? A, B, C, or D? Give you another 3 seconds. I think most of you have got the right answer here. Well done. Let's have a look. Here's the results to start.
Oh, mashallah. Most of you got the right. 85% to gain taqwa. Okay, to develop God consciousness, to put a barrier between you and Allah's anger and his punishment with a shield, and that shield is fasting. Okay, so very well done. To gain taqwa is the correct answer. 85% of you got it correct. MashaAllah. Is that the end of the quiz, Ustad?
That is the end of the quiz for today, but we've got another quiz for tomorrow. And what we wanted to do is just give a couple of minutes, maybe 5 minutes, just if you have any questions. So if you have any questions about Ramadan in particular, then you can raise your virtual hand and then we'll go around and have a listen to what your question is and try and help you with that. And then we'll see what we can do. So let's hear from Aisha. Aisha, what's your question, please? Accept the prompt to unmute, Aisha. Go ahead, Aisha. Aisha, we can't hear you, so we're going to come back to you later on. So have a look and see if you can fix your mic. Let's go to Hiba. Hiba, what's your question, please?
It's not like a question about Ramadan, but it's a question about something that you said in the middle of the meeting. You said that we should be friends with like Muslim people, but what if there are no Muslims around us, like no Muslim friends in like school around us?
No, I didn't say you should be friends with Muslim people. I said you should be friends with people who have good qualities that will rub off on you. Yeah. So you might have a friend who's Muslim, but they got some really, really bad qualities. Yeah. Maybe they swear a lot. Maybe they, don't fast. Maybe they don't take it seriously. So it's not just about whether the person calls themselves a Muslim or not. It's about people who have good qualities. Yeah. Now, of course, in a place like a school, you're going to have so many different types of people in your form, in your classes. That's not really what I'm talking about. I'm talking about your close friends. Yeah. Jibreel was a close friend to the Prophet Sallalahu. They used to spend time together every evening. So you have to be very careful who you choose as your close friends. And these should be people, the kind of people that you spend a lot of time with should have good qualities that rub off on you. So there'll be people who speak well, people who don't swear, people who keep their promises, people who take their religion seriously, people who are serious about fasting and prayer, and they'll remind you it's prayer time, let's go. And you won't feel isolated when you do that. Okay, so good question. Yep.
Excellent, very good. Good. Halima, let's take your question, Halima. Accept the prompt to unmute. We can't hear you, Halima. Halima, have a look and see that there'll be a message that says to come up. There you go. Go ahead, Halima.
What age do you have to be to pray salah and fast?
Excellent.
Okay, very good question. What age do you have to be to pray salah and fast? Now, if you look in any Islamic textbook, they will mention you have to be the age of, you have to be baligh, where you reach the age of maturity, or what's called the age of, you reach the age of puberty. But it's very important you start well before that. Okay, so there's no lower limit. There's no limit. Okay, I want to see very young people fasting and praying and going to Umrah and maybe even going to Hajj. If you go to Hajj, you'll see some babies sleeping, going around doing tawaf. Yeah, there is no limit, no lower limit at all. And if anybody ever says to you, no, you can't fast because you're a child, that's not right at all. Nobody has the right to say that to you at all. Only your parents can say to you, okay, today you're not going to fast, because they know you well and they may know that that's not going to be a good idea for you. But nobody else can tell you whether you fast or not, because that's a personal decision between you and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Yeah. But once you reach the age of puberty, once you reach what you become what's known as baligh, then you have to fast and you have to pray. That is obligatory. But you're not going to be able to do that all of a sudden. You should have worked up to that by developing those habits when you're young, inshallah.
All right, Ustad, we've got quite a few hands, so I might need you to keep your answers a little bit shorter if you can. Ayan,
okay, will do.
Ayan, go ahead with your question, please.
Are you allowed to brush your teeth when you're fasting?
Yes, absolutely, no problem at all. You can brush your teeth, no problem.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, exactly. Humail, accept the prompt to unmute, please.
So I have a small question. So so can I have my sehri sahur before I sleep? Because I wake up like really early for school. So maybe I could just like have my sahur before I sleep and like wake up a few minutes early for Fajr.
Yeah. So good question. There's nothing stopping you eating before you go to sleep, but that's not called sehri and it's not called suhoor. Yeah, that's just you having something to eat before you go to sleep. There's nothing stopping you doing that. Yeah, especially if you're really going to struggle to wake up for suhoor, have something, go back to sleep, and then wake up for fajr as well. If you know yourself and you really need that sleep, then there is nothing stopping you from just having something to eat before you go to sleep. But that's not called suhoor. Yeah, that's just having something to eat before you go to sleep. But try in the weekends and in the holidays to make sure you wake up for suhoor. Yeah.
Good stuff. Nusayba, what's your question, please? Accept the prompt.
You know how you were saying the Prophet Sallalahu, his character improved a lot in Ramadan. But I thought, like, you know, prophets, do they need to improve? Because it's not like they sin anyway, like us, or they faults or something. But like, aren't they the best of character? Like, don't they have the best of characters already?
Yeah, the Prophet ﷺ was ma'soom. He does not have any sins. So when we talk about ourselves, when we talk about improving, we talk about giving up bad things. But when we talk about the Prophet ﷺ improving, we're talking about a person who's already the best and them becoming even better than the best, even higher. So the Prophet ﷺ is in a league of his own. We can't even compare. But his character used to go from being the best to being even better than the best.
Okay, great. Let's hear from Sophia. Sophia, what's your question, please?
Assalamu alaikum. What is the reward of doing good deed in Laylatul Qadr?
Oh, what's the reward of doing a good deed in Laylatul Qadr? The Quran says khayrun min alfi shahr, better than 1,000 months. So if you do a good deed in Laylatul Qadr, it's better, we don't know what the limit is, there is no limit, better than doing that good deed every single day for 1,000 months. So it's like multiplied by your lifetime.
Amazing.
MashaAllah.
Excellent.
Yep, next question.
Quick couple of questions and then we'll conclude. So Rayan, accept the prompt to unmute. Rayan.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Walaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
I forgot my question.
Okay. No worries. If you remember it, then you can ask it next time, inshallah. Alicia, accept the prompt to unmute, please.
Like, are there days that Muslims are not allowed to fast?
Are there days when Muslims are not allowed to fast? The only days you're not allowed to fast is the day of Eid. Okay, the days of Eid you are not allowed to fast. It is haram to fast, and it's also not allowed to fast on Jummah because it's Jummah. You're allowed to fast on Jummah for other reasons, like it might be Ramadan or it might be the middle of the month. But you're not allowed to choose Jummah for fasting because Jummah is a day of Eid as well. I hope that's clear. Inshallah.
Excellent. Zoya, accept the prompt to unmute. Let's hear your question, please.
My question is like, you know, when you're fasting, and then like when you go to school, and then like you had this like, let's say, sports event, or like you have to run around and stuff like that, and you get tired, and then you're fasting. So what then?
I thought you were going to say, are you allowed to break your fast? No, you're not. Even if you're doing sports, you carry on fasting. Even if you are getting tired, then you carry on fasting. In fact, in the olden days, in the time of people, great philosophers like Plato, they used to actually fast before their lessons because it concentrated their minds. But if you're really young and you're going to school, what you should do, and your parents should do, is give you a snack to keep in your bag and a bottle of water in case you feel faint. So we don't want teachers now having the responsibility of trying to find food and drinks for you if you feel really faint. If you feel really faint, like you're going to pass out, can't handle it anymore, your parents should give you, or you should take with you, like a bottle of water and a snack in your bag, just in case. Yeah, just in case. But no, you're not allowed to break your fast because you feel tired. No.
Thank you.
Okay, and final question for today is from Fatima. Fatima, accept the prompt to unmute.
Assalamu alaikum.
Salam to you. Don't sound like Fatima to me, but go ahead.
What's it called? What happens if you accidentally break your fast?
Good question. What happens if you accidentally break the fast? The Prophet ﷺ answered that question, and he said, you continue to fast. Your fast is valid. because it was Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala who fed you and gave you to drink. Okay. If it's an accident, it does not break your fast at all. But I don't want to hear about people who had accidents with like a whole burger and large fries and big soft drink, and then they had another accident with ice cream dessert. Then they had another accident with what's those drinks called with the circly things in it? Everyone likes it now. It's really expensive. I can't see why. My children are always buying it. Bobo, yeah, Bobo. I don't want to hear of all these accidents suddenly happening. Yeah, it's a real accident, a true accident. Okay. So inshallah ta'ala, if you've got more questions, then what I'm going to say is keep them for tomorrow. Yeah. And inshallah, we will collect the questions tomorrow and we'll try and give even more time. It's great to see the questions you're asking. Yeah, these are all serious questions that not just children, but adults ask as well. And you can find them in fiqh books, Islamic books of jurisprudence. You'll find those exact questions you're asking. It shows you're very serious. But you have to now be quite serious about yourself that, look, I'm gonna achieve something great this Ramadan. I'm gonna be serious about fasting. It might be that you're only fasting weekends or you're only fasting in the holidays, but you should give it a go and you should train yourself to be serious about the fasting. Because one thing I'm just realizing is that some of you, when you in a few years' time reach the age of bulugh, when you become mature, it's going to be one of the longer fasts maybe. Yeah. So if you haven't practiced, it's going to be very, very difficult for you. So try please to practice. Yeah. And at least do 1 or 2 fasts. Hayat had a hand up for a long time, Ustad. Can we just have one more question from Hayat?
Yeah. Don't see a hand up now. Come up mute, Hayat. Hayat, accept the prompt to unmute, please.
Do you know how to do that, Hayat? There's a question on your screen. And just
excuse me. I froze on. Excuse me. I have a question.
Go ahead, Kiswa. What's your question?
What were you asking, Mummy?
Oh, okay. All right, I think we've lost him.
Okay. All right, inshallah. So
I froze. What good deeds can you do in Ramadan?
what good deeds can you do in Ramadan? That is a fantastic question, and we're going to answer that tomorrow. But the most important good deed you can do is fast, obviously, and read Qur'an. Read Qur'an. Allah said, Shahru Ramadan alladhi unzila fihi al-Qur'an. The month of Ramadan in which was revealed the Qur'an. So the best thing you can do is actually read the Qur'an, and that's going to be the main thing I'm going to be talking about tomorrow. So I can see so many hands up, but we're going to have to stop because then some people get a bit tired. That look, man, we've been here for a year, an hour, and it's not fair. You're taking too long. So, but please save those questions. And inshallah ta'ala, we will answer those questions tomorrow, and we'll have an extra extended special session where everyone can have their answers, have the questions answered, inshallah ta'ala.
Yeah, okay. So parents and everybody, remind at 6 p.m. please log on a few minutes before so we can start on time, inshallah. And now we get to hear from everybody. So come off mute and let's say salams, please.
You're just chilling, man.
Assalamu alaikum, everybody.
Assalamu alaikum, mashallah, mashallah. Very good.
Good to see you all. We see you tomorrow, inshallah, at 6
See you tomorrow.
PM. Come on time, inshallah. Jazakallah khair.
Assalamu alaikum.